Darley. I'm going to read a short story from my collection, which is called Remember Me to the Bees, and the story is called Flyleaf. It's set in a bookshop, which feels very appropriate, but it's told from the point of view of a young American man, so you're going to have to use your imaginations a little bit. Flyleaf. I only notice her initially because of the air of awkwardness she exudes, a flicker of fear, a twist of embarrassment, a spark of excitement, like a child stealing candy, yet what she's doing, what is it that she's doing? I watch her fluttering around Powell's city of books, hesitating at certain shelves, peering at the lettered spines and opening her backpack, fishing out a book. She glances furtively around, guiltily, stuffs the book onto a shelf, and flits away. The reverse of stealing, surreptitious gifting. I follow her at a distance, looking at the shelves she has been adding to, and find I can't tell which book she has inserted. It seems that whichever volumes were retrieved from her bag have been placed in exactly the space for which they were intended. Then I reach one where there was clearly no gap to fill, and see a book resting atop the others, the same title and author, but not yet catalogued by Powell's, an outsider in their midst. I pick it up, rifle gently through the pages. I even raise it to my nose and quietly inhale, but smell only paper, dust. The book itself is perhaps the one clue. Jack Kerouac's On the Road, and scribbled onto the flyleaf. Tomorrow, hope the journey is every bit of much of an adventure as the destination. So now I have the woman's name. The book is well thumbed, presumably well read, or possibly just worn out with being shoved into the bottom of the backpack. But why abandon a book that evidently meant so much to her? She's leaving the bookshop now. I follow as fast as I can, without visibly chasing her. I try to appear aloof, even a little self-obsessed, maintain the persona I assumed on leaving the gym earlier this morning. She stops off at the market, strolling through it slowly, fingering items of jewellery, ceramic dishes, sculptures, as though trying to read a secret braille printed just below the surface. She pores over a table of books, picking up several and putting them back, then selects one and buys it. I have a flash of understanding. Not only is this a woman on the move, possibly in the midst of the journey mentioned on the Kerouac flyleaf, but she's a woman who loves books, devours them. She has to get rid of some to be able to carry and read more. So smug am I at my deduction that I accidentally pass her right by without realising she's paused again. This time at a fruit stall where sleepy bees or wasps buzz around spilt juice. I halt behind a rail of vintage clothes that stink of basements and mothballs and watch as she runs her palms over the furry scalps of a tray of peaches. She caresses their silken skin and chats to the stallholder. Her voice is clipped, British in that way that somehow rings of money, a thought possibly confirmed when she fills a paper bag with fruit, pays for it, then goes to a nearby wall where she sits and eats 2 peaches in quick succession, quietly spilling over with a kind of greedy delight. The voraciousness with which she consumes them gives the impression of her tearing the peaches limb from limb, stuffing her mouth with their soft, sweet flesh so the juice runs down her chin. I'm simultaneously repelled by and drawn to the sight, my own mouth filling with a vicarious flood of moisture. She plops the peach stones into a trash can, wipes her hands briskly on a serviette, and tosses that in too, then continues on her journey. She walks in a way that emphasises her out-of-townness to me, taking an erratic route through the streets that seems to speak more of impulse than plan. I know too much about both those feelings and think of that girl at the bar in Seattle with her hair long and glossy. She smelled of tequila and frangipani flowers. What I did to her in the alley was carefully planned, but only after giving in to an impulse. This girl, Mara, gazes around herself hungrily as she walks, staring upwards into the blue Oregon sky as passing residents of the city stare only at their feet. I follow her gaze and see the things I rarely notice, haven't paid attention to since I was a child visiting my uncle and aunt here. She spends a good few minutes looking up at Portlandia, the gigantic statue at 5th Avenue. I remember my uncle schooling me on her, on how she's based on Portland's seal, 38 feet tall, made from 1,000 pounds of hammered copper sheets, a vast goddess of a woman. Yet since I arrived back in the city, this is the first time I've looked up and reacquainted myself with this wonder of art. Caught up as I am in this minor one-sided reunion, I almost miss Mara moving on again, striding purposefully this time, like something in the guidebook she's been flicking through has caught her eye. She marches towards the federal courthouse between Salmon Street and 3rd Avenue. I almost stop in my tracks as she enters, almost drop the whole plan as a cold, self-preserving fear shoots through me. But then I remember my suit, my freshly washed hair. Only my half-rotting sneakers could give me away. The gym jog I lifted the clothes from had tiny shoes, like a woman's, though the suit hangs from my shoulders. I've gotten skinnier since leaving Seattle. I observe through the glass of the doors like I'm watching TV as Mara chats with the security guard, hands over a camera, a cheap disposable one that wafts another wave of self-doubt over me. Maybe she's not the right target after all. This whole day could have been a waste of my energies. Still, I automatically take note as she enters the elevator of the numbers lighting up till she reaches floor 9. I have to see this through now, don't I? My mom always taught me to see things through. I've learned a lot over the past few months, which soup kitchens feed you best on which nights, how to slip into the gymnasium's changing rooms to sneak a few moments of hot water. I don't normally steal anything, but who leaves a $300 suit hanging from a hook when there are lockers available? Seems to me he was practically offering it up as a donation. I left my ratty old jeans as an exchange, which in my mind sets things right, at least a little. At the 9th floor of the courthouse, the elevator opens onto a garden. It catches me by surprise, sunshine sharp against my eyes, warm on my skin. Never knew it was up here. I stand still for a moment, taking in the greenery, the trickling water features, playful sculptures of bronze animals in a courtroom scenario. The city beyond, sleepy and quiet in the fall sunlight. I spy Amara at last. Sit beside her where she's filling a small notebook with scrawling text. What's that you're writing? That's it, friendly, casual. She smiles at me, seems unalarmed. A travel log. I've been travelling right through California, now Oregon, then on to Seattle, maybe Vancouver too. Wow, some trip, I say, thinking she's going the opposite direction to me, going up as I go down. She smiles at me and I catch a glint of her teeth, see her in my mind tearing into those peaches, juice running down her face. See myself tearing into her, her sweetness on my skin, my lips, my tongue. My breath quickens and I lean fractionally towards her. Inhale. The smell of peaches fills my head. My belly rumbles at the thought. She's moving, but not away from me, reaching into her backpack, her hand closing over something. A weapon. Do British girls carry weapons? And would they have let her bring it into a federal building if they made her leave a camera at the desk? My mind is spinning with possibilities, spinning with hunger, so I can barely see what she's holding out to me. A gift. Round and swollen. I blink, see her smile. I take the peach she offers me and hold it to my nose. Have it, she says, and her voice is kind in a way that makes me stumble inside. They're good. I open my mouth wide and take a bite.